Good morning, Year Sixers. I'm just going to start by very quickly clarifying something, and that is that everybody at home is somewhere different. Okay, you're at different stages, you're in different places with your learning. Some of you feel like you're behind, some of you are waiting for work every day. So don't panic about where you are, because starting next week when you guys all come back, we start on a fresh slate. Okay, we start new, we start fresh. We're not going back and catching up. We are starting fresh, so it doesn't matter where you've been. Okay, the only place where that matters probably be in maths, where we will try to catch you up a little bit because you need to be able to do your assessments. But other than that, you just keep going wherever you're up to. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Each of you are struggling with your own things. I know it's very, very hard to learn online and learn at home in the comfort of your own home, because I find it very difficult to teach through a computer screen, because a lot of what we do at school is based on how you guys are interacting with us and engaging with us, and we can see what you understand, we can hear what you understand, so we know what we need to recover, what we can keep going with. So it's very, very different. Okay. A lot of what I talk about and what I do, I'm hoping that it's what you need to hear as opposed to what I think you need to hear. So keep going, keep doing it. You've only got a week to go. So let's get going with what you're going to do this week, if you are up to this point. If you emailed Friday, and in that email Friday, I'm almost certain, I'm hoping that I have given you a copy of this sheet, which I hastily made up on Friday upon realizing how many people were really struggling to understand figurative language and language devices. Again, I can only do so much on these videos, guys. Okay, I try to aim for the majority of you, and sometimes that doesn't work. Here at school, I know that we go over things so many times. But I can't keep rehashing it in videos. I need to make sure that I'm moving forward for those of you who are there. So what I've done is I have given you a sheet, and it has all the language devices and all the language features and a bunch of examples that I've pulled out of all of the advertisements that we've done and just off of the advertisements. So that's like a reference sheet, if you will. If I didn't send it out Friday, I'll send it out today. I'll make sure it's in the folder. The other thing I sent out was your next assessment for English, which was you guys actually creating your own advertisement. So you will find that you get given a Tangalooma advertisement. Okay, so on the screen in front of me is the language devices, language features sheet. Don't know why I'm trying to show you here. That's it. Okay, so it's like a reference guide for you guys. Then you get given an exemplar. Okay, this is just an advertisement that I think Mr. Cran wrote up a few years back for an example. So he's chosen Tangalooma, he's got his images, his copy text, so on and so forth. So you get given, you've got that one, you've got your reference sheet. Also, I sent along an exemplar. What is an exemplar? It is an example of what I want you to do. Okay, so here it's all written for you. Mr. Cran, when writing that exemplar, thought, okay, well, I'm going to choose a beach destination. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to strip it back first. So your second assessment, you are creating an advertisement. The first step for you creating that advertisement is deciding on a location. Okay, that's the first step. We've got 4 options here that you could choose from. So we've got Australian Outback, Australia or Australian Outback, a beach, island or tropical location, a rainforest location, or a snow location. Again, we've kept them very broad for you to have some variety. We find that a lot of people spend a lot of time just choosing a place. So even here at school, I've got a few students who are asking, oh, can I just make up a place? The reason why we say no is because it takes too long. Usually when you're here and you're at school, you might take a week to do the assessment, the first assessment, and it might take you guys a week to do this assessment. Okay, so that's why I'm not pumping out videos every single day, because I'm giving you guys the time that you probably would if you were at school. Okay, so back to what I was saying is try to choose a pre-existing location to make it easier upon yourself. Then you need to think, okay, in that location, what activities or attractions can people do? Okay, so this is kind of building you up to create your copy text. So first thing you're going to do is pick one of those four. Choose a name for your holiday destination. It could be as simple as on here, island getaway. Obviously, Mr. Cran then went with Tangalooma because he chose a location that he preferred. So here is where you pop your name. Down here, brainstorm 4 to 5 attractions or activities that are special to this holiday destination. Again, any one location can have an abundance of activities, okay, or attractions for you to do. You're just going to list 4 or 5. Those 4 or 5 may or may not go into your copy text. And you don't want to overwhelm people. You just want to make sure that there are things there that you can advertise for. So here you're listing 4 to 5. Circle one of the attractions or activities above that will become your central idea. Okay, that the one thing you're really going to focus on. So one of these should be circled. 2, identify an audience for your advertisement. Choose an audience to use for your advertisement, which I essentially just said. Specific groups of people, so people who enjoy blank, families who blank, teenagers, couples, elderly, blank. So you want to be very specific with your target audience, not lots of people or everyone or anyone. You need to have a group in mind, because the activities here that you select should reflect your target audience. So if these, let's just say, racing down hills, on toboggans, snorkeling, parasailing, you wouldn't have elderly couples looking for a relaxing holiday, because that doesn't make any sense. What it does make sense for are families or couples, you know, late teenagers or early 20s who are going on their first overseas holiday. So your activities should match who your target audience is. Okay, for example, the Washington State advertisement. For me, targeted people who really like the outdoors, people who like scenic holidays. So you might be looking for people who are middle-aged, who love scenery. Okay. The Nevada advertisement, I would say that we'll be looking at young couples, maybe even honeymooners, people who like snow and snow activities. Those are your 3. Does that make sense with everyone? I really hope it does. So you just want 1 or 2 lines there. Families who want to escape the city and relax and enjoy a range of activities to appeal to everyone. Okay, down here. Now, this is where it can become complicated for a lot of you, and I want to make it very, very, very clear. This next table it's overwhelming to look at as a whole when it's empty, okay? But what you ideally want to do is consider what language you are having or you're going to put onto your advertisement. So I recommend, before you get to this point, play around with it. Get out a piece of paper, think about your location, think about your activities, and go, okay, now on my advertisement, I'm going to really heavily talk about skiing. I'm going to talk about taking tours up mountaintops, or I'm going to, like, you've got to have a main idea. What's the pivotal thing that you want your target audience to do? So I honestly feel before you go doing this, I would probably recommend doing this part here. Okay, so 4, and I don't know, I think this might be 4 as well. Yeah. Yeah. So I reckon, I think this one, 4 and 6, 4, 5, and 6, should probably be done first, because I feel like you need to know the images you're going to have. You need to know the layout. You want to know what it's going to look like before you can really talk to it or talk about it. So I would go ahead and I would think, okay, you need images. Your advertisement has to have images, okay? It doesn't have to have a lot of images. For example, the Australia advertisement, okay? That was one background image, but it was a very effective advertisement. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. But then you've got ones like the Okinawa or the Washington State. Those ones had quite a few more pictures. The Okinawa, for me personally, I felt like maybe had too much going on, but that's just a personal opinion. The Nevada one, very simple but very effective. So what you want to do here is consider the images you may choose to have on your advertisement. Okay, so Google, type in, they don't actually have to be from that location. Okay, so if you are choosing to, for example, do the Gold Coast or Noosa or somewhere around Australia, you don't have to then look up images just for that place. It could just be a holiday destination somewhere. Or let's say you want to do Thailand, or you want to do, sorry, I love the beach, so the beach is where my head goes. But you might want to take a trip to America. You may want to have one that's an American themed. We know that there's a lot of tourist attractions over there. So it doesn't matter. You could do one to Italy or Spain or whichever, whatever attracts you, or think, something that you think you can easily advertise for. So again, there's 4 boxes here, but you could just have one image that's going to be a background and one single one could be up in the corner or whatever. So here's where you put your images on there that you are pretty certain you're going to have on there. All right, that's probably going to take you a lot of time. A lot of people spend forever looking at pictures. So I mean, if you're at home and you're doing it, you take as much time as you want. But here is where you kind of slot the chosen images that you want on your advertisement. You don't have to fill up all 4 boxes. You don't. You could just have 1 or 2 or 3, or maybe you want more than 4. Like if you're going to do something similar to the Okinawa advertisement, which I highly recommend you really think about, you might have more pictures than that. So you can just put them in however way you want. 5 is choosing your narrative point of view. So for example, I'm just going to make that a bit bigger and hopefully you guys can see that. A journal entry from someone who has visited the holiday destination. So that's kind of first person. Or you can choose a description of the places, third person narrative point of view, which even then that's not even correct. You could have a third or second. So here you've got to kind of decide which one you're going to do here. Now, it doesn't have second person, and I think that's because this one's quite an old exemplar, but we've obviously fixed that up. A lot of your advertisements are second person, so ignore this, whatever's in this box, because you can do second person, because most advertisements are second person. So I hope you hear me loud and clearly. It doesn't have to be first person or third person, it could be second person, which is what most advertisements are. Okay, so ignore that box. For whatever reason, it's not quite right. So 6, I'm not going to read all these out, but these are prompting questions. Okay, so these questions are kind of asking you to plan your advertisement, plan the layout, think about where your copy text is going to go. Your headline might be where your images are going to go. Your text, how much will you have? How little will you have? Colors, background type, what will your audience notice first? So that's your salience. What is going to be the prominent thing that stands out? So consider the Australian advertisement. In the Australian advertisement, to me, the hot air balloon and the heading were the first things I noticed. The beautiful rainbows of the hot air balloon and the heading, which just kind of was in that patch of sky where it really did stand out. So the text they use in that really kind of gave me that impression. And what font will you use? Okay, so this is the layout for the Tangalooma exemplar. So which one is it? This one. This was kind of the plan for where everything was going to go. So they had the title, a picture on both sides, a picture in the middle, a picture all around, and text in the center. Again, a big word of advice is be careful how many pictures you are using. In the past, we've had all kinds of advertisements submitted. Again, there is such a thing as too much of something, okay? Whether that be too much text, too many pictures, or the pictures just don't gel together, okay? We're not expecting you guys to be Photoshop perfectionists or know how to use PowerPoint slide amazingly. You can draw this if you want to. You can go to a magazine if that's something that's available at home, and you can just put it together physically and submit it later. Okay, so we don't mind what tool you use to create this, okay? But whichever you choose, just be mindful about all the advertisements that we've seen up until this point and what made them effective, or perhaps what made them not so effective. So there is such a thing as too much text, too little text, not enough pictures, or way too many pictures, okay? And all of the pictures that you do choose do have to gel together. There has to be cohesion. They have to make sense as to why they're there. I had one advertisement quite a few years back, and it was an advertisement for a travel location, and there was a Lamborghini as the background. Don't be the Lamborghini kid, guys. That's a joke. It wasn't a joke. He actually did do that. But what I'm saying is be mindful about why you've chosen that image and why it's on your advertisement. If you don't talk about canoeing on a river, but you've got a picture of a canoe with somebody canoeing on a river, you have to think, well, does that make sense to be on here? If you talk about traveling down a river and there's a canoe, that makes sense. Okay, there's cohesion between the text and the images, but please make sure that that makes sense. Think about what you want them to see first, and perhaps whether you want it to be very subtle, you want the words to speak, and therefore you don't need images. You know, like the Daryl Yell advertisement, the what is it called? The basketball advertisement. How they just had the simple black image, him slam dunking a ball. It was simple enough. They didn't need a lot of copy text because the pictures spoke for the advertisement. And you can do something like that with your travel advertisement. Okay, so there can be an even mix of both. And down below that is where you'd write your copy text. Now, everybody works very, very differently. Okay, so some people might want to write their copy text first and then go up to number 4 and slot in what they have used. Now, you do not need to use all of the language devices or language features. You do not need to use all of them. So you don't need to have a rhetorical question, a metaphor, a simile, personification, alliteration. You don't need to have all of those things. You don't. You can just have a select few. So you might have a title, a rhetorical question, and 2 lines of copy text that includes one line of personification and a metaphor. Or you might just have 1 line of personification and some noun groups. Okay, so do not feel that because all of the boxes are going to be there that you need to fill out all of them. Okay, so again, you can do this 2 ways. You can fill out this box. It's number 3, actually. I apologize. You can fill out the box number 3 first, and you can go, oh, rhetorical question. Oh, okay, my place is Nevada, so I'm going to say, do you want to be swept away? Question mark. That's all that came to mind. Or have you ever dreamed of anything so beautiful before? Question mark. And you might be able to fill this out. First, you go, oh, I want a metaphor that says this. I want a simile that says this. I want to use personification to describe the waves or the sunsets, or alliteration because you want to be a little bit clever with your wording. So you choose which way you want to do this. So you can go ahead and write your copy text first, and because maybe all your ideas come out, and you can go, done, it's all there, and all I need to do is go through and pull out what I've said and put it above. Okay, so there's some alliteration there. There's definitely a rhetorical question. Let me go back up. Okay, so at some point you do need to fill it out. When you go through, I think the figurative language speaks for itself. Again, if you aren't sure what each of these things are, you do need to have some language features though, guys. You do need to use some of these things. You just don't have to have all of them, okay? Good advertisements do have language devices because the whole purpose of your advertisement is that you are trying to persuade someone to go to that location, to engage in those activities. So you do need to have some of these things in there. Okay. Language choices. So modality, there needs to be modality in there. And half of the time you use it and you don't realize you're using it. You can just say, come and experience the best holiday of your life. That's quite high modality. Or You need to get away from your busy life. Okay. A breathtaking sunset. I mean, to me, that's kind of not quite anyway. Okay. So modality, I recommend, this is the way that my brain works anyway. Go and write your copy text first. Think about all the wonderful things that you could do. That's where all of the activities and experiences come into from above. So you take these and you go, which ones do I really want to focus on? And that's where you write your copy text. Now, repetition is something that you do on purpose. Okay, repetition could be for emphasis. It could be for memory's sake. You want them to walk away remembering your location name, or maybe you want them to remember an activity, okay, or a description, a wonderful description you use. So repetition, the only things you put in there are words that you intentionally use repeatedly. So not things like and the and in and on, but words like relax or thrill or experience or adventure or Okinawa or Nevada. Okay, words that you use on purpose. You just write them in there. Cohesive devices replacing words. So replacing words is when you, let's say, for example, you don't want to repeat something. You don't want to be repetitive in a bad way. So you replace that word with something else. So instead of saying thrill half a dozen times, you want to say excitement or adventure. Okay? And repeating keywords, again, that's above. So don't even worry about that. That's should probably be removed. Okay, here. This part is something that probably stumps a lot of people when it comes to the advertisement. Okay, use your examples of figurative language above and write sentences that persuade your audience to come to your holiday destination. Don't forget to use noun groups, verbs, adverb groups. Okay, so your point of view, you should travel to our island getaway because it's, and this is where you turn your ideas into sentences. Again, if you've already written your copy text by this point, take out sentences from there and just rewrite them here. Okay, because this is all supposed to be done before you write your copy text, so it's kind of an aid. So there's a title. Here is where you put your title of your holiday destination. So you should travel to Nevada because it is, and then he put that, trying to think of what Nevada said, gliding on 10,000 feet of snow. I can't remember what it is. I think it's like 300 feet of snow. I'm just going to pull out the two advertisements we worked on last. Come to Australia because it includes magnificent national galleries and museums and some of the world's greatest wineries to discover. So those would be two sentences already. Come to Australia because they depart on top of the world. So that one's not great to use as an example on how to ride your horse because that one's very specifically done. The pictures are supposed to speak more than the text. Yeah, this one's a good one. So this is the China advertisement I'm looking at. I'm just trying to fit it into here. So you should travel to China because it is, or because it is an amazing place to meet this ancient culture face to face. And you could say you can walk the crossroads where modern life shakes hands with times gone by. Because you will not achieve this level of understanding in a book. You could say because around here, history stares down at you, ready to take you by the hand and lead you along the path of discovery. So that's it. That's, again, if you've written your text beforehand, go and rewrite it in here. If you haven't, here's where you kind of explore what you want to say. So if you already know, okay, I want to say this and I want to say this, write them into sentences here. Okay, that's all you're doing. And then from here is where most of you will go and then write your copy text down here. I'm sorry if this is confusing. The way that I would do it is I would plan out what I want my advertisement to look at, which is this face here. And then I would write my copy text. And then from writing this, because sometimes I would find it very hard to create similes and metaphors before writing it. I would probably write it and then draft it Write your first draft of your copy text and then go, okay, so this is what I want to say. But instead of saying this, I could turn that into a simile, or I could turn that into personification and make it interesting. Okay, so that's the way that my mind works. But you can just work through each of the steps as it's laid out on your sheet. Okay, from there, part B is explaining your choices. Okay, so again, there are lots of boxes here. You do not need to fill out all of them because you will only have used whatever you used. In this Tangalooma advertisement, we made it a goal to do all of the language features. Okay, we decided to do all of them purely because we wanted to give you as much of an example as possible. So we've got every box filled out. You will not. You may have a rhetorical question, a simile. You've obviously got narrative point of view. That's how you write it. And you might have noun groups and evaluative language. Okay, so you might only have 5 of the boxes filled out. That's fine. You do whatever on your advertisement. So here is identify and explain how you used figurative language and language features for cohesion, emphasis, or and persuasion. Only provide an explanation for the features you used in your advertisement plan above. So like I said, you only write an explanation for what you've used. So you need to decide how did you use these? Did you use them for cohesion? So there's that link. You know, you're linking a description and a picture, or you're linking a copy text and an image, or you're linking the colors together. If you have a tropical paradise water themed advertisement, you might use blues and greens. So there's that cohesion. Emphasis. So emphasis is to emphasizes to make a big deal, to make sure people remember, and then or persuasion. Okay, was it a persuasion technique that you use? So here you can read the examples that we've put here so you understand how to respond to it. So let's choose metaphor. Okay, I'm going to read that one out. Figurative language in the form of a metaphor was used in the line and set foot on our welcome mat, the Golden Sands, to make people feel welcome as soon as they arrive, as well as enlightening the golden beaches that they are sure to enjoy. So all they're doing is you're just thinking, okay, well, what have I done? Okay, I need to list my example and I need to explain why I've used it. You know, is it to emphasize your activity? Is it to emphasize the fact that your location is going to be relaxing and going to be enjoyable? Let's have a look at narrative point of view. The text is written using second person. Repeating the pronoun you is aimed at making the reader feel the advertisement is speaking directly to them and have them imagine themselves at this wonderful holiday destination, Tangalooma. That's easy, isn't it? Very simple. And so on and so forth. So a lot of it is using an example and explaining why you think you used it. You know, if you used alliteration because you wanted something to be catchy and appealing, you say that. If you used personification because you want them to feel, you know, that it's relatable, then you write that down. Modality as well, repetition is the same. And the lucky last question is about the images. How do your images elaborate on your central idea? Why did you choose the images? So this is kind of a bit of an explanation. So again, if you used, let's use this China one as an example. So why did they use a picture of the Great Wall? Because a lot of what they talk about is walking on the Great Wall. Why do they have the terracotta warriors on the bottom? Because they explicitly mention they talk about the warriors. They talk about seeing them face to face. So that makes sense. So you use images that relate. Okay. So for example, the Australian advertisement, the hot air balloon links in with the arrive with the weight on their shoulders and depart on top of the world. So it's very cleverly linked there. Being in a hot air balloon puts you on top of the world, okay? And if you have a look very closely at the advertisement, they're actually in Canberra. In Canberra are known for their national galleries and museums. A lot of historical documents and stuff are stored in Canberra, because obviously that's where the Parliament building is. So that makes sense. To me, it makes sense because I know the location where they've taken that picture is renowned for museums and galleries. You know, if you don't have that knowledge of Canberra or Australia, you might not find it as cohesive. But I found it quite clever to do that. So you've got to think very carefully about how do your images elaborate on your central idea, and why did you choose the images? Okay. And then I believe that's it. This is what you'll be working on over the next at least couple of days. Do not rush this. Give it time. Do your research. If you want to choose a new destination around the world that you've never been to or you don't know much about, sit back and do some research. Look it up. Think about a clever advertisement for a new location, or find a location you know a lot about and give it your own flair, you know. So this is about you creating an advertisement that you like, you know, an advertisement that incorporates all the things that we've been looking at. You know, we've been deconstructing advertisements that are pre-existing, so now it's your turn to use all your knowledge and create one for yourself. Okay, so this is the sheet that you will get. It's all kind of laid out. This, again, I would highly recommend second or third person. You can do first person if you want, but even then Arnhem Land isn't quite first person. Yeah, so that's an error. Just making it very, very clear that I'm aware of that. Yeah, so you choose the order that you want to do it in. Just remember, you only have to provide an example for these ones if you've done them. And same with above. You don't have to do them all, but you do have to include language, devices, and features. You do have to use some of these, okay? Again, any questions, just shoot me an email and I'll be happy to answer. Keep in mind, though, that we do have, last week I think we topped at 21 kids, and I teach them all morning in English as well. So I'm also still trying to give these guys feedback on theirs, okay, on their work. So please be patient, and I will absolutely try my best to get back to you. But good luck, all the best. Take your time, don't rush it. And on Wednesday, I will shoot out some new work. We're not starting our next unit until next week when everybody is back here. So I won't be starting the news reports or news articles until next week. We're not doing that at home. So I will probably, if you do this and you complete this and you send it back to me, that's fantastic. I will shoot through some extra work that you guys can just do on your own. But good luck, guys. And if you need anything sent to you, just let me know. All right, good luck.